At Panan 360, we're very glad to have Kojo Melché Roney. Kojo is an excellent drummer emerging in the international scene of jazz. Uh, Kojo is coming obviously from the Roney family, and the Roney family, we know his father Antoine, and we know his late uncle Wallace, and all this nucleus of excellent musicians uh, of my generation that made children, and you are one of those. So welcome in Montreal, Kojo.
Thank you.
So is it your first time as a band leader in Montreal? Have you performed before with other guys?
Well, now this is my first time in Montreal as a band leader. But I did something in the past in Toronto, Canada. And it was a performance for my documentary at the time. And the documentary is called Kojo, and they showed the film and my band played. So this is my second time in Canada as a band leader, but first time in Montreal. So yes.
Cool, very cool. So you've been surrounded by music since you're born in a way because you come from musical musical families because your uncle and the late Geri Allen was also your aunt. So all those people were fantastic musicians. I'm a big fan of Geri Allen,
Yeah.
and Wallace played so many times also in Montreal. We know his story. We know also your father, who is an excellent saxophone player too. So, how did you go through this childhood? Did you feel well? Did you find that it was important to be also a musician, or it went simply naturally?
It was more of I guess you could say maybe a cultural thing. Um, my dad was, is heavily in the music industry. My uncle was heavily in the music industry. My mom is a choreographer, so she's in the dance industry. And then my grandmother, my great grandmother, my mom's grandmother was also a very important person in the jazz industry. And her name was Marguerite Chapman. And so she was a singer. She did a lot of things for with Hollywood back in the early days. She was the voice for Rita Hayworth in a lot of Rita Hayworth's movies. And so she was a giant. She sung with Duke Ellington, so she was a giant in her day. And then my great grandfather on my dad's side was also a guitar player that played with the Frankie Fairfax band in Philadelphia. So, he was good friends with Charlie Christian, he knew Dizzy and all the guys who played in the Frankie Fairfax band. And so from those generations all the way down to those are my great grandparents and my grandparents who were heavily in the music industry, to my parents, to me. And so it was kind of just all funneled into that's what my family did. So I didn't feel pressured. I mean, that was just the environment I was around. I always was around all types of music, from jazz to pop to, it's all the same culture. So by the time I came through, the family likes to say, you had your vision. So when I came through, I gravitated to the drums, regardless of the fact that everybody else played, trumpet or saxophone or voice or guitar. I just something about what I wanted to do just included the drums. So I came here with a great environment from a family perspective, and then I just had a vision ever since I was born, and I got the drums. So yeah.
Yeah,
And
well, I
also,
understand you're from a fourth generation. So grandparents, grandparents, parents, and yourself. So
yeah,
it's a great lineage in a way.
yeah, it is. It
It's
is.
like the Bach family.
Yeah, and it goes back further than that too.
Yeah,
It's fun too.
probably.
Another time.
Yeah, we can go further. Maybe you could find in the grand
Oh, I know. I
some
I know
ancestors.
people in the 1700s. I know stories. So yeah,
Cool,
yeah.
excellent, so cool. Where did you find your own way? When and how and where?
Well, I didn't go to school to learn how to play music. It was like I said, it was all in my family. So my education of the music was through my father and my uncle and my mother. And so like due to the fact that my grandparents were heavily in the industry, my mom and my dad had a lot of information about the music on the in the musical side and in the industry side. And so ever since I was young, they always kind of educated me on a lot of things. Things about, like, you know, reading music and understanding how to play music, the form of how music is supposed to be constructed, and that type of experience I got from being on the bandstand through playing with my father and playing with my uncle. And I that's how I learned on the streets. I learned on the bandstand, you know, at 6 and 7 years old. And my first tour, I was about six years old. I was on the road with my uncle and my dad, and so that's
Well,
where I
it's a
got,
family education in a way. Well, you know,
yeah, family.
institutions
Mhm.
cannot do better than what you could access, you know.
Yeah,
So you could access to a great knowledge corpus. So
right. So when I at from around 6 to maybe 12 is when I kind of got a lot of the backhand experience, but around 11 or 12, that's when I really got on the stage as a professional. And that's when I got a lot of experiences, you know, as a musician, playing a gig professionally and being paid as a professional musician.
mhm.
So, yeah.
So you had the same education that any professional drummer could have, and
Mhm.
also with the real experience of your own family and friends, and you know the milieu of the musicians where you grew up in.
Yes.
So so it was a great advantage for on any people that could go to university or you
Yeah.
know conservatories. It
I was
doesn't make
very
any
lucky
difference.
to be able to experience a lot of that. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And now, let's talk about your friends now, the people you're playing with, the what you're looking for, what you're listening to.
Well, I love all the guys on the scene. Everybody on the scene are, like, you know, some of my best friends. Especially growing up as a young person on the scene, I was able to see a lot of people jump on the scene as young folks. One of my favorite musicians that I actually um, like to represent for the type of music and the type of thing that I listen to, other than my own personal endeavors, is actually Marcus Gilmore. And he's like my big brother. You know, he's a drummer. That was somebody that I looked up to as a young person. And so him on the scene now, he's one of the cats that I really really love to check out. And yeah, I mean, you know, like guys like I did a recording with Manuel Wilkins um, for Michelle DiCicello. It was I think it's a tribute to Sun Ra not too long ago. He's one of my good friends. Yeah, I mean, you know, I got a lot. I got a whole, mainly probably anybody on the scene. You know, they're all my homies. And so yeah, I love to check out cats and keep up with
Cool.
it.
And about your own music, your own craft, the way you play it, what you're looking for, what you're seeking.
The band that I have tonight that we're going to be playing here on, I think, the Pub Molson stage. I have Antoine Roney out front, my father. I feature him. He's my band director, and a lot of the reason why I make sure he's on stage is because me and him, we have a duo, um, a forward motion that we have together when we're on stage that I can't really um, create with other people. You know, we have a special thing. So I always make sure that he's my band director. I say, listen, you my cat out front. And then on bass, I have Jeremiah Kal'ab, Jeremiah Edwards, and he's he's young cat on the scene, and grabbed him and we're presenting him tonight. Um, so yeah, that's I use them to really hone in on a lot of the music that's in my head. And in terms of my inspirations, I I have a lot of different inspirations. One of them have a lot to do with nature, and so anytime I travel, especially like coming out here to Montreal, the surroundings, the city, the people are a really heavy part of my inspiration, and they help with how I present new music. And then Music, I love to listen to the old records. I love to listen to a lot of the new young guys, and I'm heavily into, a lot of people don't always think, but I'm heavily into a lot of the pop things that are going on today. Um, and I keep my palette open, so I don't really have a main direction where I could tell you I listen to this and this and this and that. I just turn
No,
the radio on sometimes and just enjoy it.
very few people do that now.
Hmm.
Before we could, it was relevant when records were not so numerous. You could find the five best saxophone player in the world. Now you can find the best 400 saxophone player in the world. It's very different. We don't approach new soloists and new musicians as
Right,
we did in the 80s and the 70s and the 60s,
right,
because there are much more. So there's so many, we cannot see who is the best, who is the best technique. You can find like 15 people at the top of the world having similar techniques. So
yeah.
there's no one sort of Coltrane of this epoch. There's no drummer of this epoch. There's no you know s- we it's not relevant to talk about that now.
Mhm. Yeah,
uh,
and that's the way I grew up. I never grew up in a singular view of what music is. I grew up with a wide palette. So one side of the family, I go and hang out with them, and they're listening to, Motown, Michael Jackson, and the Five Tops. And then I go to the other side of my family, and we're listening to Monk and Diz, and Bird. And then I go to another side of my family, and we listening to country music. So I that's how I grew up. And
okay,
I
good.
take that with me everywhere.
That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
And now let's maybe have a sort of appeal of what you're playing those days, starting with the Montreal concert. But it's probably your main project, so you're traveling with it.
What we're going to be doing tonight, we're going to be doing a lot of, I mix a lot of grooves, grooves, palette things in my set, and we're going to be playing a lot of straight ahead things as well. Um, but between the duo on stage, which is me and my pops, we're the fireball that's rolling. And so the way that we play, we really take spontaneity under our wing, and we go forward with that performance that way. In terms of published music, I produced a record, I think a year ago. Oh no, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, called Psychedelic. So a lot of that music that we're gonna be playing a lot of that music from that record, and that music is more in the electric rock jazz side of things, but we don't have guitar, but the saxophone out front is our electric guitar. So we're coming from that mentality of electric, really high powered music, and beautiful, delicate music in between, woven inside of the high power electricity. So that's the approach that we're going to be taking, and that's what I am going to be doing moving forward.
Sounds very good. Kojo, there's been a documentary film about you. So they followed you. Who did produce or direct this film?
Oh, the film. Yes. So the film, the documentary that I did, that was in 2013, I think. Maybe. I think
Okay.
maybe. Yeah, it was a while ago. It was produced and directed by Michael Fakir, and it's my main man. We kind of grew up together. He's a very very talented filmmaker, and we kind of just got together and made a documentary about my life as a young musician. And I was about maybe 11, 12 at that point in time. So it was really talking about I'm how I juggle being a professional musician on the road,
And
traveling
a
to
child.
all around, North America, and being a kid, having to deal with schoolwork and all of the in between. So that's what
Mhm.
that documentary is about. Since then, I've been doing a lot of film things. Well, actually, the most recent film that I did, I produced and directed, and it's a short film, but it's about me in the desert, and I'm performing, I'm playing drums in the middle of the Wild Wild West desert in California, And at the end of, in the middle of the film, I get picked up by one of my close friends with some horses, and we talk about a battle that we got to get to, you know, and we talking all this stuff. And then after we finished our conversation, we're like, all right, come on, let's go. And I get on my horse, and we basically make a war gallop to our next battle. So that's, I've been doing a lot of film, you know, film incorporated music pieces, and I'm continuing to do so, you know, in the future. So in the future, I got some pretty interesting things in terms of film and music that's going to be pretty exciting for people to look forward to. So yeah.
Yes, and in the short term, well, we embrace your arrival in Montreal
Thank you.
and your first concert as a band leader with your
Yeah.
father, Antoine.
Mhm.
So it's a great rendezvous for us.
Yeah.
Welcome to Montreal,
Thank
Kojo.
you. Thank you. I'm
So
excited. We're gonna hit hard tonight. So we're gonna be putting some pretty interesting vibrations out there tonight. So yeah.
sounds very good. So awesome, man. So have a great stay in Montreal. A great concert.
Thank you. Talk
Bye
soon.
bye. Talk to you soon. Bye. Bye now.